Thank you, Madam Secretary. Nice to see you here today. In another committee, we talked about the prevention funds and the anti-lobbying restrictions.
Yes.
And we had some questions before. Attorney General Holder sent to Lamar Smith, clearly saying that federal funds can't be used to lobby federal, state, local. A letter from Mr. Esquia, I think you're Assistant Secretary for Legislation.
Jim Esquia.
Esquia, I'm sorry. Said basically the same, acknowledging you can't use federal funds for federal, state, local, and went through the different corrections or things that you put in place to deal with some of the things from last year. There's one paragraph in that letter, though, that he sent. It's in the letter on April 1st. He said, when concerns about any grantee are brought to our attention, CDC contacts the grantee and reviews the allegations. We have determined through this process that specific grantee activity referenced in your letter and highlighted by Mr. Whitfield and Guthrie did not violate lobbying restrictions. And it does say that applicable lobbying restrictions do not prohibit awardees from all interaction with policymakers. I know because of time I'm quoting, but it's accurate what I'm quoting. It says, however, it would not be permissible for awardees to use federal funds to influence a specific piece of legislation or pending legislation through the direct lobbying with legislators. And just a couple of examples, I have several that the ones that he referred to didn't, that what Mr. Whitfield and I highlighted, and a couple of them, and there's more, and I'm reading directly from the website. Executive Office of Governor of Delaware, $1 million, seeks sponsorship of bill that increases excise tax on other tobacco products. Meeting with policymakers, stakeholders, and developed, introduced bill for tax equity on OTP products. This bill was tabled. Another, Nevada Department of Health, $560,000 CDC. Legislation is proposed to increase tax on all tobacco products, working with Nevada state legislator on the proposed legislation. So my question is, I know we're trying to address the lobbying, you've got things in place, but why did this not violate the lobbying restrictions? And if you say this doesn't violate the lobbying restrictions, it appears to me there aren't really restrictions on lobbying.
Well, I can guarantee you, Congressman, that we're trying to do everything we can to enforce the law, to retrain grantees, to remind them. There are certainly instances where grantees are invited to present testimony at committees. That is not lobbying. To be involved in policy discussions, that is not lobbying. So there are specific state and local definitions of what lobbying constitutes, when you have to register as a lobbyist.
I agree, but when you're getting specific sponsorships for specific bills, I mean, that appears that does.
And again, I think that the conversation, all I can tell you is I believe that the conversation resulted in one of those other categories. So yes, the grantee was involved, but not in a lobbying activity that would have constituted registering at the local level or declaring themselves as a lobbyist.
Okay, well, thank you. I'll yield back.